Hey guys, Tiago here with Classical Technology. Thank you for joining me for another video. In today's video, we're going to do a build in the Lian Li o11 Dynamic XL case. Stay tuned. Alright, so let's get into the build. As you can see, the case has significantly more space at the bottom, top, and even it's a little wider for a 120mm radiator in the back. We're putting the X299 Rampage 6 motherboard, which is an ATX motherboard, and you can see we still have a good amount of space at the grommets for cable management, so it's not a big deal. In the back panel here, now I'm removing those pieces. This is where this water block is going to go. This is the Bitspower water block with the DDC pump. EK also just came out with one for this case, which looks really nice. I'd go with either one, whichever one is more readily available, as they should be priced pretty similarly. The proportions fill out remarkably well, even with a large motherboard. It still feels pretty balanced with that water block. It really fills that space nicely. And now on the bottom and top, we still have plenty of space for a nice thick radiator, as well as a vertical GPU, which is definitely going to be our weapon of choice for this build, a 2080 Ti, and eventually the new 18-core Intel CPU with a 7820X as a placeholder. Everyone is familiar with the original o11 Dynamic. It's very popular. You could look at water cooling forums and Reddits everywhere, and everybody and their mother has done a build in it. I also did, and I found a couple of limitations in that case, mainly performance versus aesthetics. If you wanted to have a nice vertical GPU setup, you couldn't really max it out with radiator space because it took out a lot of space from the bottom. Now, Lian Li has solved that problem by making the case overall just bigger. So that means you can do a vertical GPU and fit a thick radiator at the bottom, at the top, or even at the back. In my case, I'm going to be using a water distribution block in the back with a built-in pump, as I think this case really is built for that. You can do so many nice little runs, and it just seems to really flow both aesthetically and performance-wise. As you can see here in the back, this is a back shot of the water block, as well as some of the cable management. Now, I left in those hard drive bays because in the future, this is going to be a perfect video editing rig. You have so much space for hard drives. You can really fill in a lot of SSDs, as well as this motherboard, particularly having a lot of space due to that riser, which you can put M.2 drives, and it's very flexible. Now I'm putting in the Cablemods custom orange cables into this Evga G3 power supply. Really nice power supply. The cables are very nice. As you can see, the orange really sets it apart from the other black cables, and I like to do the cable management as I go, clipping, putting cable ties. That way it's a much cleaner look and I don't have to worry about it later on. And as we spoke about, this is the vertical GPU installation of the 2080 Ti. It's an Nvidia Founders Edition card with an EK Velocity water block. Definitely one of my favorite blocks, and this is actually a Cablemod bracket. I know Lian Li makes a particular bracket for this case, but the case is pretty new and I didn't really find it aside from the original version, so I decided to use the Cablemods version. These are the new EK Meltemi 44mm fans on their 360mm Performance Edition radiator. Very thick fans. Really fill out this case nicely. As you'll see with the bottom radiator and the top, you have a lot of space to be able to fill in, so these work perfectly. Now we move on to the CPU. This is actually another case that I'm tearing down and taking the 7820X CPU out of. It's going to serve as a placeholder in this build until the new Intel CPUs come out for X299. Should be out next month. The 18 core looks pretty juicy at under $1,000. So this 8 core CPU should serve the purpose for now. And now comes the fun part where we start preparing the tubing. We're gonna bend some tubes. This is the first straight tube that goes up and down. Now we're using a heat gun in order to bend them. This is a little silicone insert for those who don't know, so that way you don't damage the tube. And I'm just gonna do a bunch of 90-degree turns like this, because this build really requires that. As I'll show you here, I did 4 90-degree turns, and then I'll just cut them down and fit it in wherever I need them between the parallel runs on the CPU and the GPU. It's actually a little bit tricky getting everything to line up perfectly parallel. But after that's done, what you're seeing here is the EK air pressure tester. Basically shoots air through the system. If it holds in that green zone, you don't have any leaks. And after over an hour, the system passed without any issues, and we were ready to start the liquid infusion. Slowly but surely, we get the system filled. I'm using a little pump bottle, just gives me a little bit better access. After everything is filled, the first thing we're gonna do is power everything on. As I leak tested it, generally you should power on just the pump. That way you make sure that nothing else is gonna be affected. And after all is said and done, enjoy a few nice shots of the system build and its completion. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Take care until the next video.